Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Serious news have reached us from the Barents Sea. Tensions between the Russian and Norwegian governments have erupted, and it seems the countries are at the brink of war. According to the Russian Department of Defense, a Russian jet fighter was shot down by Norwegian naval forces.
Yesterday, a Norwegian research convoy, accompanied by a frigate, left the port of Kirkenes and headed for the Barents Sea. The convoy's mission was part of the so-called High North strategy, which includes intensified efforts to find new oil reserves in the Barents Sea. As Norway's state fund is mainly financed by oil and gas production, it has been hit hard by the financial crisis and suffered a loss of 72 billion euros. In order to save the fund, which is fundamental for the national budget and is regarded as safety net in case of ebbing oil reserves, Norway introduced this new strategy 2 weeks ago.
In an official statement, the Russian Federation condemned the actions taken by Norway and called it a clear breach of the UN Convention on the Law of the Sea and Russian territorial sovereignty.
These actions taken by the Norwegian government pose a threat to any diplomatic resolution of this territorial dispute. Norway's actions are proof of the intention to exploit resources in Russian territory.
Norway and Russia have been arguing their maritime boundaries in the Barents Sea for over 30 years. The two countries are currently disagreeing on the exact definition of their respective zones in the Barents Sea. The area is assumed to hold vast reservoirs of oil and gas, making it a hotspot for resource development. The Norwegian government states that they were taking sediment samples for research reasons only. Suddenly, Russian jet fighters crossed the path of the convoy and fired warning shots to keep the crew from proceeding with their mission.
This aggressive behavior by the Russian Federation is not only unreasonable, but absolutely disproportionate. Norway carried out a peaceful research mission in this part of the Barents Sea. We should not fear an attack from Russian military in a territory which is part of the Norwegian country, as defined by the United Nations Convention on the Law of the Sea.
An hour later, the Russian government reported one of the jet fighters missing. Prime Minister Vladimir Putin insisted on Norway to immediately reveal what exactly happened to the Russian jet.
The Russian Federation is convinced that the Kingdom of Norway is involved in the disappearance of the jet. This is clearly an act of aggression and an intended attack by Norway. We will not accept this breach of international law, and we will act accordingly if Norway does not retreat from Russian territory and explains the incident.
An emergency ad hoc meeting of the NATO Council called on the two states to stay within the range of diplomatic negotiations. NATO Secretary-General De Hoop Scheffer urged Russia not to jump to a simple conclusion.
Especially in this sensitive matter, it is of utmost importance to act only upon confirmed actions and not on mere assumptions.
In an official statement, the Norwegian government denied any involvement in the disappearance of the jet.
Any connection that would point to an aggressive behavior of Norwegian military forces has no ground in reality. Russia is clearly using an unfortunate accident in order to put pressure on Norway. The Norwegian government will by no means back down to any of these bully techniques.
News have reached us that in the meantime Russia is mobilizing its naval fleet on the Kola Peninsula and is putting its air force on alert. Further developments are to be observed. This was Dominik Vorholt reporting from MUIMUN News Center in Münster, Germany.